Next up at UFC Vegas 37, we have Montel Jackson versus JP Buys. Montel Jackson 10-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. JP Buys, it's Buys, not Buys. And I'm the one who's bad with names, but I'm positive it's Buys. JP Buys 9-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off of that brutal loss to Bruno Silva. And I'm perfectly fine with that because Dan and I rode Bruno Silva to the bank in that fight. We had Bruno Silva winning by knockout. And honestly, part of the breakdown, part of the analysis there was that, if you remember, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times already, JP Buys and his wife Cheyenne fought on the exact same card. It was their UFC debut. They fought on the same card. And I know they've done that in the past, but UFC debut, same card, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. He's trying to warm up, worrying about her fight later. She just watched him get the crap kicked out of him. Then she's got to fight. Bad energy. That is not something you want to have to worry about, somebody you care about and love that much getting into a fist fight before or after you. So I made a bunch of money picking against JP in his last fight because Bruno Silva, we saw that knockout coming. He's back. He is without his wife on the card, which is honestly, again, a fantastic thing. But what's not a good thing is this matchup. Montel Jackson is a good wrestler. Montel Jackson is a good striker. Montel Jackson has a lot of power. He's literally good everywhere. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple, and he's got legitimate power. And that's why he is a tremendous favorite. He's not a little bit of a favorite. He's a tremendous favorite. And I'm not just going to pick JP Buys because, I'm just trying to be different. That's absurd. So the problem for JP here is that Montel Jackson is all of those things. JP Buys does have a path to victory, and it's wrestling. We didn't get to see his wrestling in his last fight, but he is a good wrestler. And if you go back to some of his other fights, you can see his wrestling. He is a good wrestler, and he uses wrestling well. And we've seen Montel lose to a solid wrestling game plan. So, listen, Montel Jackson's the pick. He's the pick. He's got to be the pick. He's too well-rounded to not be the pick. But he's not minus 700 pick. I would never touch that money line, ever. He's definitely not minus 700 pick. The problem with JP is he just gets finished all the time. He finishes or gets finished. Feast or famine, as I say. These odds are absolutely crazy. I do have money on this fight, and my money is the over on rounds. The round line is set at 1.5. And listen, I think we get past 1.5 rounds. I think JP will try to wrestle. And Montel Jackson, these are wide odds. We've seen him lose wrestling matches before, basically. I'm over 1.5 rounds. JP Buys is a pretty tough dude. I don't see Montel Jackson absolutely blasting him out the same way Bruno Silva did. Over 1.5, I was comfortable putting my money there. I was not comfortable on money line. You know me, I'm not great on the I don't love the very specific finish prop bets like Montel Jackson by knockout. You can get really, much better odds with that, but I'm not a big fan on that. But so Montel Jackson's the pick, but who cares, right? The money is the over on rounds. So when I'm watching, I'll be rooting just for survival on both sides. $9,500 for DraftKings for Montel. Honestly, on paper, probably a safe draft because JP Buys gets finished. Montel Jackson, he's got the power, got the moves, can make it happen. So, actually might be worth the $9,500. JP Buys $6,700. Listen, if you've built your lineup and you only have $6,700 left, he's not a bad play because if he comes out with a wrestling game plan, he could absolutely win that fight. And if we look at Cheyenne, his wife, and obviously they're not the same person. They don't even have the same fighting style. Cheyenne got, beat up in her first fight as well, but she was out grappled for the most part. But in her last fight, her second fight in the UFC, she fought without her husband on the card. She looked fantastic. JP Buys may come out here, look fantastic. It's just a tough matchup. Montel Jackson's a pick. The bet is over 1.5 rounds. wewantpicks.com/bets. Grab yourself a promo. Hit that line. I like over 1.5 rounds, and I believe I got plus money on that. So I'm just rooting for a little bit of a survival. Basically, what they did was they took the odds and then they said, oh, this must be a murdering. So the line is at 1.5 rounds instead of 2.5. I do think this goes a little bit, can't judge JP by that one ridiculous knockout from the absolute powerhouse killer, Bruno Silva. So that's my breakdown of this fight. Nothing earth-shattering. I'm not doing some wild underdog pick here, but I do think JP Buys has a path to victory. I don't know if he'll get there or not, but absolutely the over on the 1.5 round is where I'm going to lay out my money. Monkey knife fight. Ooh, it's a tough one. That's a tough line. Yeah, that's a tough line. Man, more. Maybe we'll get a nice, good back and forth fight. So I do think it's over 1.5 rounds. Are you going to score 40 or land 40 punches in 1.5 rounds? Probably not. But man, boy, I don't know. I'm not going to touch that line. I'll see when it moves. And tomorrow we'll film with Chris, and he'll tell us how we got to this line. But I'm not going to touch that line. That's a hard line. I like the over on rounds, but that's such a middle-of-the-road line. So wewantpicks.com, grab a promo, play some of the stuff. This should be an interesting fight.